Welcome to another edition of Helping Hands. I'm Vice Mayor Linda Bartz, and today my guest is Sean Boyle. Sean is with Children's Services Council. Hi, Sean.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. It's such a big organization, such an important organization for our county. I know we have other children's services in other counties, but...
Yeah, we're all for St. Lucie County.
Yeah. So talk to me about Children's Services Council. What do they do?
Who we are and what do we do?
Absolutely.
You know, we've been around since 1990. In 1990, this community voted to establish a Children's Services Council. And at that time, there was only 5 other ones, so we became number 6. Currently, there's 8 in the state of Florida, but they're all specific to their own county. So we're strictly for St. Lucie County. Children's Services Council, we're an independent special district that funds children's programs. And many of your viewers may be familiar with some of the programs. It's the Boys and Girls Club, it's Big Brothers Big Sisters, it's the YMCA, Castle, Hibiscus. All said, we fund 53 programs that last year positively impacted over 34,000 children. Now, when I say we fund programs, we have 5 priorities. Our first priority, or they're not in priority order, but one priority is making sure every baby is a healthy baby. Now, clearly, you don't want me to go through all 53 programs, so I'm just going to pick one from each category. In St. Lucie County, when a mother gives birth at any of the hospitals, a St. Lucie resident mom gives birth, they spend, unless there's a complication, 48 hours in the hospital, and then you go home. And we always say you go home with the greatest responsibility you can ever have, which is raising a child. And you know, and I've yet to run into a parent who gave birth at 12 p.m. after an hour's labor. It's always, you know, stressed and multiple hours, and it's usually in the a.m., early a.m., somewhat speaking from experience here.
Yes.
So usually when they get home, they're tired, they're a little stressed. And, you know, so what we do is we have a registered nurse come to the home of that family within 1 week of them returning home from the hospital. Now, this is a voluntary program, but last year 88% of all births took advantage of this program. And the registered nurse comes out and checks on the health of the mother, the health of the baby. I always say the stress level of the father. But what it does is it's designed to give parents the confidence and to get them to bond early and answer any and all questions that they may have. Our other priority is stopping child abuse before it happens. Giving parents the correct parenting skills and techniques to stop child abuse, remove crisis in the home. Programs, and your listeners may be familiar with the Castle or Hibiscus Children's Center, are part of our strategy to prevent child abuse. Last year we had a 100% success rate in stopping child abuse with the 2,400 families that we work with. And you may think, oh, well, of course you have a 100% success rate when those programs are in the home. This is a 100% success rate 1 year after services had ended and concluded. So we're having a long-term impact. Our third priority is keeping kids off the streets. I have teenagers, a 14 and a 17-year-old. I know they get out of high school at 2. I don't get home till 6, 5:36, 6:30, sometimes 7. When they're home alone, they find something to do. Sometimes it's not always positive. So we have to give our young folks positive things to do. Keeping them off the streets when school gets out and in the summer prevents juvenile crime, it improves their academics, and it keeps them from getting involved in gangs.
That's things like Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, exactly. Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the Avenue D Boys and Girls Choir. Altogether, we fund 12 after-school programs that reach over 5,000 kids each year, getting them off the streets. Our other priority is making sure kids stay in school and are successful at school. An example of that is we provide reading mentors to Big Brothers. We fund Big Brothers Big Sisters so they can provide reading mentors in 15 elementary schools to children that are struggling reading kindergarten through 2nd grade. Because 3rd grade is really that benchmark. You have to be able to read by 3rd grade because it all changes. You have to learn to read so that you can read to learn moving forward. And then our 5th priority is keeping kids off drugs and alcohol, which is part of our after-school programs. They all address keeping, staying away from drugs and bullying and all that. But we also provide a curriculum in the 5th grade that every 5th grader receives through New Horizons. That's a best practice program about staying away from drugs, staying away from alcohol, and understanding the impact of bullying and violence. So 53 programs, 34,000 children.
So what it sounds like to me, when I hear those priorities is that you affect a ton of kids. If you're a parent and you have a kid, have a child, chances are you have been affected by Children's Services Council indirectly through a program that you've been involved in.
Right. You know, through our funding, we enable these 53 programs to exist. Quite frankly, of those 53 programs, 44 of them receive 50% or more of their funding from us. So if not for us, many of these services, if not all of them, wouldn't exist. But you're right. I mean, we provide the match to allow school nurses. So if a listener or a viewer is watching the show, if their child's ever gone to the school nurse, that's, you know, we're involved with that. If they've been in childcare, we're involved with that. An after school program, we're probably involved with that. All said, like I said, 53 programs. Last year, 34,444 kids, of which well over 50% came from the city of Port St. Lucie.
Well, and again, I don't think so many times that we realize, you know, when we take a child to daycare or we have the after-school program, we think of Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We think of the local daycares, but we don't think about many times how those programs are funded. We just don't put them together, and I've said that about United Way as well at times. But the other thing is if I remember correctly, you don't fully fund any program.
Right.
Is that right?
Right. Well, when we go through a whole, programs that get funded, they go through a whole application process and a budget review, and we have high accountability standards. We can literally account for every penny that we spend. But no, we won't fund a program 100%. And the reason for that is there needs to be some buy-in from that agency, whether it be fundraising, in-kind, something. They need to show that they're just as committed as we are to the program. So yes, you're right. We'll go, I mean, we have programs, Avenue D, Boys and Girls Choir, we fund, I think, around 92%, but we won't fund 100% of anything because there needs to be buy-in from that program, from their board of directors, from the entity itself.
Absolutely, and so I think that that is important, that people know that it is not just a program that taxpayers pay 100% of to go out there and fund these programs. I know one of the things that always got me were the how they brought down teen pregnancy.
Right, you know, and I get this question a lot, particularly in these last few months, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but what about, you know, what would you say the impact was for Children's Services Council of somebody who doesn't have kids? Because we have a lot of retirees, and maybe their kids have grown up, and maybe even their grandkids don't live here. But, you know, through our programs, you know, the impact that we have not only in the children that we're serving, but in the community at large. For example, juvenile crime is down tremendously. I recently did a presentation to the Citizen Police Academy, or
yes,
I think that's the name of it. And when Chief Bolduc was introducing me, you know, he said part of the reason why juvenile crime and crime in general is down is because we have resources for these kids to go after school. So juvenile crime, since we've been established, down, I believe it's over 43%. Infant mortality, you know, back in the late 80s, early 90s, our infant mortality was comparable to third world countries. I mean, babies were literally dying either before they were born or right when they're, you know, given birth. We've cut that down. We're actually beating the state and leading the state in infant mortality rates, and that we're so low now. You mentioned the teen birth rate. In 1990, before we got established, our teen birth rate was 27.9 out of 1,000. It's now 5.1. We're below the state rate for the third consecutive year. That represents an 82% decrease. So that has a huge impact on residents here because it comes back down to the health and the safety of our community. And we certainly, the Children's Services Council, and what we fund and make available to families plays a big impact on that.
Well, I happen to know you're doing good things. I'm involved with Roundtable, and obviously near and dear to my heart is Kids at Hope and that initiative. And of course, I'm a little impatient. I want it in every school, running all
it's getting there.
Full board. yesterday, and I was talking to the new executive director yesterday, and I was saying, and I want it in all the businesses, so that when they are dealing with our children, our youth, that they have an idea of what we're trying to do and how we're going about it and how it makes children more successful, because when they feel good about themselves, they are capable of doing anything.
And, you know, and Kids of Hope is a great example. I've been here since 1997, which didn't seem like a long time until I just said 1997, 17 years. This community cares about its children. I mean, just by the sheer fact that we have a Children's Services Council, because there are not Children's Services Councils all throughout the state. There's only 8 altogether. But every county can establish one, but there's only 8. You know, we always talk about this. Whenever there's an issue with children or something that we need to address, this community rallies around its children and families like no other. I'm very proud to call St. Lucie County and Port St. Lucie my home.
I agree. I agree. I've said over and over again, this is the biggest small town I've ever been in. But it's true. It's neighbor helping neighbor. It's friend helping friend. And actually, it is, you know, the person on the street who will lend a helping hand when needed.
Absolutely.
So, Sean, we're going to take a quick break. I hope you'll join me after.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we'll be right back after this message.